Hi everyone, thank you for coming along and hope you enjoyed this session. I'm going to, so the sort of, it's a presentation style session, so I have a presentation to show you. There'll be a short bit in the middle where I'm going to play a video, and that's your chance to kind of just relax a little bit. If you need to go have a comfort break and come back, that's fine, but the video will be playing in the meantime. We've got Andy Thompson with us as well from Conyers School, Secondary School in Stockton-on-Tees, where in the Tees Valley, and he will be available at the end to offer some school teacher perspective on what we're going to talk about here. And then there, as mentioned, there'll be opportunities for you to ask us questions at the end, and you can put them in the chat throughout. If I don't answer the question in the chat when you ask it, it's maybe because I haven't seen it, or or it's more relevant to sort of save it to the end. So we will try and manage the questions as we go along. And I will provide an answer at some point wherever it's the most appropriate time. So I hope that's all okay. So this session is about how we might set up musical nurture groups in schools. I had designed the session to be aimed at school teachers. And I realised that there's probably more music hubs and music and culture music people here, so I kind of semi-apologise that you probably are coming from the same place, and that I don't need to advocate for the benefits of music on young people's personal, social, and emotional development, but that's what we're going to talk about, and I suppose it's to reaffirm that why we all do this work, and the possibilities for taking that into schools, in particular with relation to COVID. So we'll get onto the practicalities of the nurture group bit further along. I'll tell you a bit about MUSINC. We're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of music, and in particular in relation to well-being and the difficulties that young people are facing through the COVID situation, and then talk about the practicalities of how that works within a school setting. And that's how it'll work. So I will crack on. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see my first slide. Bear with me while I do the tech. So I hope you can all see that all right. Great, I can see a few thumbs up and nods, so that's good. Right, so slide one, this is just an introduction to MUSINC. I will let you know what MUSINC is. MUSINC is a musical inclusion programme that's funded by the National Foundation for Youth Music. It's hosted by Middlesbrough Council and delivered across the Tees Valley, the 4 boroughs of the Tees Valley, which is Stockton, Middlesbrough, Hartlepool and Redcar and Cleveland. The focus of our work is to provide musical opportunities to young people in challenging circumstances and to address the inequity within the music education sector. Our ethos and values centre around the principles of inclusive practice and how that applies in a music setting, and our team of music leaders specialise in taking an inclusive approach to sessions. We believe in the power of music to transform the lives of young people and of those around them, and our outcomes are centred around personal, social and emotional development for young people using music as a tool to support this. So to put MUSINC into context, oh, I'm pressing the button and it's not moving. Sorry, pressing the arrow button and it's not moving my slide.
Rebecca, if you can hear me, if you can just try clicking on the screen once, click on your PowerPoint and then try and use the arrow.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so just to put into context where MUSINC sits in the sort of grand scheme of music in the country, you've got the Arts Council. I'm sure, again, you already know this. Arts Council fund music education hubs. They also fund youth music as a national foundation. And within youth music, there are 3 levels of funding, Fund A, B and C. I've mentioned a couple of the Fund A and Bs there. There possibly is one more that that is recent. MUSINC is a Fund C level, which is strategic level funding, along with 13 other organisations across the UK. And the 13 organisations that have the Fund C are working together, and about 2 years ago formed the Alliance for a Musically Inclusive England, which you may or may not have heard of, and work together with the same sort of shared goal of addressing the inequity within music education as a sector. So yeah, there is another fund that Youth Music have just released called the Incubator Fund, which is aimed at young people aged 18 to 25 to support their talent development. And I know that Tees Music Alliance in Stockton have been successful in getting that funding as well. So that needs to be added onto there, but it's just to let you know that that's there as well. Slide 3, core values. We have MUSINC have aligned our core values with us being a youth music funded project with the values that the AMI Foundation, founding members have come up with together over the last year or so. So we came up with this acronym, another acronym to add to all our list of acronyms, but it's that young people's music is heard, and it's so it's a really nice way, I think, of summing it up. You know, I'm sure we've all got our own kind of core values within the work that we do, but this is, you know, there's no point reinventing the wheel sometimes, and I think these values are absolutely sum it up for me personally. So we've aligned ours with these. Holistic. So holistic means meaning placing emphasis on personal, social, and musical outcomes as equal outcomes. Equitable, meaning people facing the biggest barriers receive the most support. So slightly different to sort of equality. Authentic, meaning developed with and informed by the people we do it for, i.e. the young people. Representative, meaning the people we work with as participants and colleagues reflect our diverse society. And diverse, meaning all musical genres, styles and practices are valued equally. So those are our core values. And what are MUSINC's strengths? So what do we focus on when we're delivering sessions? So our strengths, these are some of them. I've just kind of bullet pointed them a little bit. Definitely inclusive practice, which is an approach to teaching and learning, which means that all young people, every young person can make music, where every style and genre is embraced and cultural diversity in music is celebrated. Working in challenging settings, meaning sort of talking about PRUs, pupil referral units, and other alternative education establishments, SEND schools and charities working with young people in challenging circumstances. For example, in our area, we've got the Junction, a young carers charity, Bernardo's, the Bungalow Partnership, which you may have heard of, and now more regularly, we're starting to work a lot more closely with authority services. So sitting within the council has the added benefit of having access to make connections with the authority services, for example, ethnic minority achievement teams and school improvement teams and things like that. So that's been really beneficial to us, and we've kind of made those close connections more recently to kind of have that team around the child approach with all the services that are supporting those young people in challenging circumstances. Youth voice and young person centred approach, involving, at the moment we're sort of starting with this. The youth voice is obviously a whole other workshop and a whole other presentation in itself. I think there was a whole youth voice week of stuff a few weeks ago, so that could be a very complex area of work, but we like to think we've sort of started progressing in this area. We do pre-delivery consultations with all our groups and all our activities that we are starting from the very beginning, where the young people tell us what they would like to get out of sessions. They set their own goals, and they acknowledge their own achievements, and they take a role in leading activities as well. And that will grow. Our youth voice work will hopefully grow with our organisation. Workforce development, skilled, flexible and highly responsive workforce of music leaders and youth sector workers. So we work closely with the youth sector as well when we're delivering outside of school settings. We offer regular and specific professional development around working with young people in challenging circumstances and around equality, diversity and inclusion. And we offer bursaries for bespoke professional development for music leaders. So they come to us if they're interested in a particular area of professional development, and we look at bursaries for that as well. We're also currently running a paid mentoring program with 4 trainee music leaders, which is around inclusive practice and equality, diversity, inclusion. And we're running 1 paid internship per year too. Hopefully we're going to get to run that in January, fingers crossed. See how that goes. And then finally, working in partnership is a strength I think we've got, because that's our bread and butter. We wouldn't be able to do what we do unless we collaborate and we work with people that have the same objectives for young people as we do, which is improving their lives through music, really. So that's that. I'll move on. So our strands of work, what we do. What does MUSINC actually do? We deliver music first and foremost. So we have open access music groups across the Tees Valley. We usually have about 6 going at once when we're running full capacity. However, obviously now it's a slightly different picture. But I'm talking about this as if we are running normally, not in a COVID world, and which is where we want to get back to, obviously, as soon as we can. Open access music groups are music groups that anybody can come to. They are usually run within in partnership with a youth provision outside of school, and open to any young people from anywhere, any background and circumstance, and any ability as well. No musical experience or ability to those who've got some or a lot. Strategic intervention is smaller scale intervention music projects, which is probably where the nurture groups sit really in this context. And those are usually smaller, sort of shorter term projects that have specific aims and outcomes related to personal, social, emotional development and well-being. One-to-one tuition, we do one-to-one tuition. There's a high demand for it because as we know, young people can't often afford to buy instruments and to pay for lessons. However subsidised they are, there's still people who can't access those. So we offer one-to-one tuition for a certain amount of young people every year. Music for social action. This is a strand of our work that we've got 2 elements of. We commission a project to Youth Focus North East, and they work with the young people that they are already working with, and they design projects where music is used as a tool for promoting social change and influencing and advocating for social change within their own communities. And we've recently developed our own version of a social action project, which we've called MADE, which stands for Musical Action for Diversity and Equality. And that was in response to the Black Lives Matter movement that happened earlier this year. But we're not just addressing the racism side of it. We've sort of made it into a bigger umbrella project where MADE is about diversity and equality. And there will be short-term short projects within that address different areas of inequality, for example, racism or disability, gender equality, LGBTQ plus and things like that. So we'll run those throughout the year as well. We do a lot of professional development, as I've already mentioned, building a skilled workforce, and a large part of our work is advocacy for musical inclusion. So that's MUSINC, really. That's all kind of wrapped up. So I'm not going to, as I said, I'm probably preaching to the converted here, and you've probably all seen Music Mark's document that says 10 things schools should know about music. So as I say, you've probably already seen this, but there's no point reinventing the wheel. I'm always sort of saying that because there's so many resources, so much information, so much work that's been done around the benefits of music for young people's development and everything to do with young people. So it's not, I'm not claiming to present anything new necessarily here, but I just thought we'd revisit this and say this exists, and this is really great document for schools. I should get some reward from Music Mark for doing some promotion for them, shouldn't I, really? So we've got the benefits here. We've got number 1, builds life skills. So that's things like social interaction, social development, team building, discipline, focus, the things like that young people need in wider areas of their life going forward. Boost school improvement. It has been proven a successful school is often a musical school, and when allowed to permeate the whole curriculum, it can have a positive impact on all areas of wider school life. Improves learning skills, proven to create or strengthen neurological pathways in the brain, and can support literacy, numeracy, and listening skills. So that's the neurological side. Fosters team working, playing together with others, in particular, whether it's in a small group or a large orchestra, however it's happening, builds cooperation, mutual support, and promotes the idea of working harmoniously together with others towards a common goal, which again transfers into other life's areas of life. I think I already said builds life skills. I've got my notes slightly wrong around there, but resilience, confidence and agency. That's, sorry, I've got my notes mixed up. That's building life skills as well. Yeah, going back to building life skills. Resilience and confidence and agency. And I think one of the most important things that I think about music is it teaches young people how to fail, and how to fail confidently. And it's such an important part of life. Unfortunately, we all fail. We all, we all do things wrong. We all make mistakes. And it's really important for young people to know that that's okay and it's absolutely fine, and keep trying and learn from that and go on to do, carry on and try again. I think that's a really important part of life, and music is a really good tool for doing that, because it's all experimental. Nothing's usually right or wrong, so it's about giving the confidence to try and say, actually, that wasn't very good, was it? But I'll try again. Let's just see if I can do it better next time. So I think it's a really important lesson that young people can learn. So yeah, underpins better behaviour we're up to now, practicing music. This is kind of focusing on practicing. It requires hard work and persistence, and dedication and commitment. When you enjoy something, obviously you kind of want to do it more and you want to stick at it. So that's what music helps with as well. Encourages creativity. It empowers young people to shape their world through sound, exercise, imagination, experience of freedom of expression without the fear of getting it wrong, as I've said before, being inventive and trying new things. Music is for life. It fostering and talking about fostering a lifelong passion for music, and it's something we can all do until we die, unlike more physical activities. Not that there's anything wrong with more physical activities. I'm a very strong advocate for physical activity, but you can't play football necessarily when you're 87. I mean, some people do, but I think music is just one of those things that you can, I think, you can do for the rest of your life. You can enjoy it, you can participate in it, you can make music, all till you die. So it's not always about producing professional musicians. It's about producing well-rounded adults who have the knowledge and the tools to enjoy music for the rest of their lives. An educational building block, as again, I'm sure you all know, can improve self-confidence, self-efficacy. So I believe that one's a strong one for me personally as well, is that feeling of self-worth that young people, it's something I can actually do this. I am capable. Behaviour and social skills, as well as academic achievement. It's often the most beneficial activity for disadvantaged young people, or those in challenging circumstances, because of its strong links to all of the above. So you see a bigger impact with young people in challenging circumstances. Often they will flourish in the area of music where they might not in other areas of the of academia and school. So, which in turn obviously contributes to increased aspirations and feelings of self-worth. Music is fun. We mustn't forget this, most crucial part of it. The thrill, adrenaline and stimulation of a performance is often a key part of being involved in musical activities. And whether it's the first time or the 100th time, you can't underestimate the in terms of the lasting positive effects that feeling has on anybody. I mean, who doesn't remember like the feeling of being on stage and the curtains are about to open and you're there and it's like, oh, I've got to get through this, and the stage fright or whatever it is that you're experiencing, the adrenaline, is, sometimes it's not a great thing, but I think overall it's really a really good thing for young people to experience that, because undoubtedly people come off the stage and feel that buzz and feel like they've really achieved something. And finally, music is obviously for everyone. Music making is, or should be, more inclusive than it ever has been before, because advances in technology mean that more young people can take part in music, particularly those with SEND, those who are vulnerable and those who are facing challenges, whether permanent or temporary. So that's, yeah, again, I don't think I've said anything new there, but just reminding ourselves why we do what we do. So at this point, I think I'm going to put our MUSINC video on, which is just a nice time for you to, I think it's about 9 minutes long, so you've got a chance to go and have a comfort break, or you can sit and watch it and just chill out a bit without having to digest my my waffle. So I will just switch screens now and share this with you. I hope you enjoy it. This was put together over a year, I think, across all of our activities that MUSINC have been doing, and it was made about 2 years ago, so it's a little out of date, but it still captures the essence of what MUSINC is and what we do. Can we see this? I'll just put it back to the beginning. Is that all good? You need to have your sound on, obviously, for this.
It's just amazing to come here and to play music. It's giving me confidence. Sometimes I'm doing something, I just start singing out of nowhere.
I've learned how to play the ukulele, the drums, and I've learned how to sing without being scared.
Last year I did my debut grade for guitar and I passed that with a merit grade, and this year I'm going on a guitar grade 2.
Every time I come here I try to sing and I really enjoy it. Singing, dancing, it's just me.
We were asked what instruments we wanted to play, and I was really interested in learning the keyboard because my granddad used to play the keyboard. He is a really strong person because he's suffering from diabetes, so we play together and we come up with different funny songs. It helps him quite a lot.
MUSINC is the project hosted by Middlesbrough Council, but we deliver across the 4 boroughs of the Tees Valley, which is Hartlepool, Redcar, Stockton and Middlesbrough. It's funded by Youth Music. There are 13 other organisations doing this work across the country, and we're now part of the Alliance for Musically Inclusive England. All the 13 organisations nationally work together to lobby and advocate for musical inclusion, for every young person to be able to have the opportunity to access high quality music making opportunities.
BCT Aspire is an organisation that needs children to aspire in life to be better than what they are, to show them there's possibilities out there and a great future if they put their mind to it with some good hard work. It's all about making bonds, making friendships. They see a guy like Jake playing solos, so then they aspire to learn them solos, and a lot of the learning within the music sessions on a Saturday morning is done through this peer learning.
This programme's been amazing for our young people. There's so many young people that won't get a chance to access music. We've had discussions with parents and young people in the past, and they wouldn't be able to afford the lessons, wouldn't be able to afford the instruments, and music does bring people together.
The group I work with are from the Roma Romanian community in the main. They're very talented musicians and they like to come together and play the traditional Roma tunes in a band setting. I think it's important to reach out to every community, and Middlesbrough's become ever more diverse with new communities coming to the town. I think that you can engage people very effectively through music. It's very important so that they feel included, we get to know more about them, get to understand them, and they get to understand us.
We're a partner in the hub and we work with other organisations like youth organisations and schools and local authority teams, school improvement teams, children's services teams to identify young people that for some reason or other don't access music but that would like to, and where music would be a really good social and personal benefit to them.
Regulation is a really important part of the therapeutic process for children that have experienced any kind of trauma. We've discussed setting up a regulation group for children that were struggling, and that really was the beginning of the Drumming Regulation project. We wanted to just present them with it as an experiment to see if that could help them, and it did.
The programme, the way it's designed, is to be very flexible and very fluid in terms of what the young people want to do. We just try and be as inclusive as we can and get people interested in trying something new.
We're there to encourage them really. A lot of our young people that have confidence issues, they wouldn't feel comfortable attending something alone, so we're that support.
It started off mostly singing to accompaniments, which they still do, but then they developed the confidence to writing their own music and wanting to create their own music, and also taking more ownership of the project and having ideas about what they wanted to create and where they wanted to go. And we've worked towards a lot of different performances, like the Head Start festivals, the young people's gatherings, which have given the young people opportunities to perform and share what they've been doing with other people.
We've also had this really great way of allowing them to see other forms of music by the musical inclusion events, through offering the arts awards, so the children that have really shown some keen interest and talent have been able to do arts awards. I think the first year we did it, the child that initially started this whole thing rolling for me did his arts award, and that was massive because teachers didn't think that he would ever even do SATs. But he managed to gain an arts award and he did sit his SATs.
Music really does make a difference to young people's lives. It really can provide that thing that they really need to develop those essential skills, life skills really. It just supports all of that.
Before I didn't really get along with other people as much, but working with other people every week has helped.
Before I entered this group, I used to not speak a lot, but now I'm speaking all the time, and this group's given me the courage to be able to do it.
It shaped me more as a person than anything else ever has, and it's built more confidence in me because I've never had that. It makes me feel like bubbly inside and a bit like a kid. You go into it thinking, oh, what if something goes wrong, and then you do it and all those worries just go away. It's amazing.
Being with other people is something we can like express our feelings and our emotions.
Dancing and singing makes me feel really happy because you can explore how you really feel.
Inside of youth club, when we're doing music, it like brings me into a whole different world. It like takes me somewhere else that's not here.
It's great food, and your mom and your parents are proper like exciting, like, you know what I mean.
I like the group because instead of doing problems outside, just come and then you chill.
When I play drums and I change myself, like I feel myself happy that I know how to play. I like to play more instruments than having problems, and I'm safe and I play. It feels like my body saying that go play drums, Patrick, you can be the best.
We've had children where it's really helped them to come out of themselves, and other children where it's really helped them to manage to regulate their emotions better within the school.
They've become more supportive of each other in enabling each other to take part in activities. One young person's been involved for quite a few years now, and he's got his other friends involved, and they've formed a band.
The people that were involved in that little boy band, their involvement in the project has mushroomed out of all proportion really. The leader of the band, he takes a leadership role. He volunteered to stand up and introduce the song at the gathering. We wrote this little piece together, he contributed to that, he's writing lyrics. His sense of worth seems to just blossom.
As a professional, I think I've developed because of the young children I work with. Seeing how engaged they get makes me want to work harder, makes me want to do better, and makes me want to deliver in a way that they will find it beneficial.
So having only been here for 3 months, I'm just getting settled in and finding out where MUSINC is going in the next 3 years. Lots of exciting plans. We're going to continue doing accreditations like the Brock School Grades, like Arts Award. We're going to get more involved with what's going on nationally, get involved with performances across the country, hopefully. We just want to talk to more people that work with young people. If you think music can be beneficial to the young people that you work with, then come and see us. We're here, and we're here to help.
MUSINC are absolutely essential in this area. It's a very deprived area. Music has a way of being mother. It has a way of enabling children to begin to understand their emotions, to feel nurtured, and MUSINC are managing to create projects that can get right into the heart of the matter.
There's no one else providing this kind of service. There's no one else saying to these young people, there's nothing to stop you being involved in music, there's nothing to stop you trying things, nothing to stop you expressing yourself, being involved in recording and songwriting and playing, and being involved in playing together as a group. This provides them with such an outlet.
It gives the young people a voice, it gives them confidence, it gives them a sense of belonging and that they're part of something. They feel very safe here and comfortable and they can be themselves. Having a creative outlet is so important.
It just calms me down. When I'm at school, I'm like really calm to my friends. Sometimes they even ask me like, you've changed a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm always at music club, so yeah, it's improved my life massively, music. I'm not sure where I'd be without it, if I'm being honest.
It gives me like that impression that it feels like I'm supposed to, when I was born, I was supposed to be here, because like it makes me feel basically good.
It's just so good. Like to just come here, sit down, play music with everybody. It's a great experience.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. I haven't watched it for a while. I didn't realise I was wearing the same like colour top. I do have other colours of shirt, I promise. Oh, hang on. Something's going on. Sorry, hang on. Can you hear that? Hang on.
We can see and hear you, Rebecca.
Hang on, I think it's because the next video started playing on YouTube. Hang on. Right, I think that's it. Stop share. Sorry. Is that all right now? Yeah, we're back. Technology, things just happen. Right, back to the presentation then. Yeah, I haven't watched that for a while, and it's just a nice reminder of why we do what we do. I think I hope that was useful. Let me share my presentation again. So picking up where we left off, really, and getting to the point of the reason why we're kind of here is to address some of the difficulties that have presented themselves through the COVID situation, and the effects of COVID on young people's well-being. So for this, I'm going to share another document, which again you've probably seen, because it's a really crucial kind of document for the music education sector. But if you haven't, that's really good, and I'll show you it, and you can take away if it's useful. So it talks about the effects on young people's well-being, being that they have experienced loneliness, social isolation, and lack of belonging. So experience loneliness, like social isolation, unlike anything we've ever experienced before, I think, and it will continue as well. It's not over yet. So the more that young people are deprived of social interaction, the more they'll feel disengaged from everything that they're used to connect with, and that leads to an increased sense of not feeling part of something and belonging to something. They're bound to be young people who have experienced trauma in some way, and likely it could be a death related to COVID or related to something else, and have had to deal with that without the usual support network around them that would be in place if we were allowed to interact with each other more than we are now. So piled on top of that, there's unsettling issues as well in society that have been prevalent and appeared strongly. For example, Black Lives Matters. This is bound to create a feeling of a generally unsettling nature for young people, I think, seeing the world in such a sort of turmoil. It must, it's unsettling for us as adults, let alone what young people are experiencing. So it's just being aware of that, I think. A lack of motivation and confidence. Well, obviously this is inevitable with having to work alone and motivate yourself with no end goal in sight, just sort of getting on with it by yourself. The less you do, the less you kind of want to do. I suppose we've all experienced that lull where we feel a bit just demotivated, and it's really hard to get that back without some help, really. So that's our job, I think, to help them get motivated again. Physical inactivity is an obvious one, but we can't underestimate it. feeling trapped physically. Our bodies have a huge impact on our minds and mental health. We all know that. So physical activity or lack of is an issue. A lack of structure and routine. Young people have forgotten how to learn and behave in a classroom and a structured learning environment. They might have not had, they haven't had the same level of expectations set out for them, and not knowing what their expectations are kind of leads to lack of direction, lack of focus. So it's how we address that by re-engaging them in the process of learning and what that feels like. So I've taken those points, and those points are from this document that I'm about to share, which is the is a music education recovery curriculum that has been developed and created by the Triborough Music Education Hub, which is, oh, I can't remember now, is it Bristol? I can't remember the 3 music hubs, but in the southwest that have created this. And again, I'm saying you've probably seen it, but we're going to have a look at it anyway. So here we go. I'll just share that with you. I'm just flitting screens. Switching screens. Is that okay? Can we see that? Cool. Right. Okay. So on the left column is what I've just basically outlined in my bullet points in the previous slide, which is loss of friendship, suffering, loneliness, social isolation, physical loss, people's facing death or trauma, loss of opportunity, loss of freedom, and loss of structure and routine. So those things are on the left-hand column there. So this document's really great. It's only 1 page. I can just sort of show you that there. It's got some points on the second page, but effectively, this is a really concise and to the point document. So the second column in green are the sort of suggested musical activities that we could use in the link to the curriculum as well, that can be used to address those particular areas. So, for example, loss of friendship, suffering, loneliness, social isolation, and lack of belonging. Some examples of musical activities that you could do are musical games which focus particularly on communication and collective performance, using pupils' voices in particular, expressively and creatively, speaking chants and rhymes and singing, using call and response as a group, and teaching in a dedicated space. Consider the classroom environment. Does everybody feel included in that space, and growth mindset messages, which you probably have in the school environment anyway. So that column, I'm not going to go into great detail about through the whole document, because I'm sure you can take it away and read it. I think the link for it is in the chat, so if you'd like to take that away and read it in your own time, please feel free. And the other columns are obviously the intended outcomes of the activities in relation to the points that it's trying to support, if that makes sense. So I just found that, I think that's a really good document, and it's really concise. So I thought I'd share that with you if you haven't already seen it, and if you have, apologies for repeating. So I will stop that share now. Back to presentation. Okay, so we've done that slide, haven't we? That's fine. Now we're getting to the practicalities, I think, of the nurture group idea of having a small group of young people within a school that are using music as a tool for addressing their well-being and improving their well-being, sorry, not addressing it, improving their well-being and personal and social development. So the idea of it, the aims, getting to the point would be simply a fitting with school, and that support to be back, re-engage in the school community, but having a musical context to that as well. So giving them an individual focus, a sense of belonging, being part of something which is really valued, and being valued is a really key point as well. Student-led approach, independent learning, I think that's a really important element of the aims of how you would approach a musical nurture group. So the young people making their own decisions about the direction of their learning, setting their own goals, and recognising their own achievements. So that would be kind of, as well as the overall wellbeing goals, those are two that I think a musical nurture group addresses particularly. So I think getting to the practicalities. How do we do it? How do we actually do it? We've talked about how wonderful it is, and you know, all schools should have a musical nurture group, but how do we actually do this? So step one, you need to identify your young people. You need to identify a very small group of young people, because it won't have the same impact if you try and do this with a large group. A whole class approach doesn't work in this situation. So you're identifying young people with particular challenges, particular needs for development, and you are similar in age and similar challenges that they're facing. Step two, consent forms. I'm sure that schools will be in a position to, you know, operate that practicality alongside. If we were delivering this in a school MUSINC, we have our own consent forms that we would use to gather information that we need. It has all the media permissions on it and things like that. And then you need to ensure those are signed and stored securely, but obviously schools are in a position to do that quite easily, usually. Step three, you need to identify a space in school and a space in the timetable. So it's really the school valuing this activity and giving it the due diligence, I suppose, that it requires in terms of providing a suitable space. So somewhere quiet, somewhere that's enclosed and doesn't have distractions and people walking through things. 30 minutes a week is probably enough, possibly 40, and identifying the resources that the schools have, the resources that the musicians can bring. If it was MUSINC, we would be able to provide a wealth of kind of musical instruments and tech equipment, things that could be used in the sessions. Yeah. Step four, identifying a staff member within the school. And again, this is probably the key point, the key element of whether this will work or not, is having a staff member, either a teaching assistant or a SENCO in the school, to be fully involved in the group and be an active member of the group to support the young people in the best way possible. And so that's kind of the school's essential contribution to the project, really. Step five, sharing individual needs and challenges of the young people in the group with the musician. So I'm calling it a musician because I think having a I say musician, it could be a music teacher, music leader, music facilitator. All those terms are relevant and would be appropriate. I sort of think that this kind of work we do, we use community musicians essentially, because they kind of bring that slightly different, more informal, more relational approach to the music, to the sessions, and I think that really works well. But that's not to say that a music teacher, in a classroom-based music teacher, wouldn't have those skills as well. So it's not you know, it's choosing the right person for that role. So identifying the staff member who would work with that musician to discuss the needs and the challenges of the young people in order to plan the sessions the most appropriately. Step six, training for musicians, possibly. I've put in brackets if necessary. That's because obviously if MUSINC were delivering this with a school, our CPD program sort of addresses this as an ongoing process in any case. But if there was a need for some training, that would be maybe factored into the project planning. Maybe possibly some training needs around working with young people who have experienced trauma or adverse childhood experiences or have mental health difficulties, or maybe even something around youth work practice and community music and those approaches to it. Step seven, discussing the ends and outcomes, obviously, because everyone has to be working off the same hymn sheet. What are we trying to achieve? Let's decide what the well-being aims are, how we're going to measure those, and actually that can come from the school. What does the school value in terms of what are they trying to sort of do with this? If they're accepting it into the school, what do they want to get out of it? What do they want to prove to kind of their funders or the wider world of the government? For the project, because that has to be there. If the schools don't kind of have that input into what they would like to get out of it, then they're not going to support it in the right way, and it, you know, it won't be sustainable. So working with the schools to set the aims and outcomes is essential, a part of it as well. Step 8, delivery happening. So that sessions would take place with the SENCO or whatever other staff support is identified as the person. And I think that needs to be a consistent person as well, which I haven't mentioned there, but actually, yeah, that's another point, is that I think that person needs to be consistent to have for the best outcomes. supporting staff member contributing to reporting and evaluation process. Yet again, really important that it's a team around the child approach that you're taking. It's the young people saying what they want to do. It's the musician helping them to do that. It's the staff members contributing to the pastoral support of the young person and their personal, social, emotional development and well-being with, because they'll be the people that know the young person character-wise and be able to pick up on maybe some things like changes in behaviour, academic achievements and things like that maybe the music leader and the young person would miss. So it's kind of noticing those little changes and being able to contribute to that sort of evaluation process of going, I've noticed this and this is because they've been doing that bit more, things like that. Noticing that they're putting their hand up more in class because they've gained in confidence and things like that. And it's also important for young people to be included in the evaluation process, to highlight that their input and opinions are valid and valued, and that the evaluation process is genuine and relevant to them, because it's for them. So where are we on? Step 9, I think, reports completed. Yeah, again, this is just around evaluation and taking a team approach to it and having those opportunities for everyone to input and to contribute to that reporting process. Yeah, and then I suppose step 10 is that kind of like, what have we done? Reflection and advocating for sustainability of this idea. So that's the kind of 10 steps of the practical side of things. Some additional points I've just put at the end here is just some things that have been identified where this has worked really well, and some things that you might want to think about when you're setting it up. This is the last slide, so I'm aware that I probably need to rush through this, so I will just, I'll leave that with you. So some additional notes being musical activity versus intervention. So it's kind of presenting it as a musical activity, not you've been selected to do this because you are struggling and this is an intervention. It's kind of taking a different approach, because that's just the way you communicate that to the young people is important. Process versus product. Performances are important. The process is probably more important. So it's kind of keeping that focus on the process whilst enhancing it with performances possibility, depending on what the young people's needs are. Consider progression and signposting for the end of the project. That's probably something to consider. What are they going to do afterwards? How is this going forward to continue their journey? Regular reflection sessions alongside the delivery for musicians and everyone involved. Is this working? What's not working? What do we need to review? Team around the child approach, which I've kind of mentioned already. Keeping numbers small, which I've also mentioned already. Support staff, vitally important, which I've already mentioned. And staff in school understanding the community music approach. I think this is more to do with the fact that it's a different way of sort of teaching music, and it's the staff that understanding that we might do things slightly differently, and having that discussion around things like discipline, things like behaviour, how a school might address a certain situation, deal with a certain situation might be different to how a musical inclusive approach might deal with a certain behavioural situation, but also at the same time obviously recognising that the school disciplinary sort of rules and procedures that need to be followed in certain cases. So it's that discussion and that kind of balance and that understanding between the organisations. Musicians sharing, composition and songwriting has the best impact. That's been proven. Musicians sharing their musical self has been proven as well. Young people love to see the musicians being musical and playing, performing and enjoying it and being passionate about it, which I think would happen anyway. So that's nothing really new. I'm going to leave you with this last slide, which is a picture from our summer school that we did. And I just wanted to read you. So we did a summer school in August, which was pretty crazy considering the circumstances. We actually got 9 young people to do a 3-day summer course where they came together and were a band for 3 days and then did a performance to an empty room, which we recorded. So it was kind of some performance benefit to them. And there was one young person, I just wanted to highlight sort of the approach and the sort of benefits really. There was one young person who turned up who had heard about the course but hadn't been involved in any musical activity before, had heard about it somewhere. He's just on the bottom, on the right of the screen. You can probably see him on the right at the front of the stage there with his turned away with his head down, and that's pretty much how he was for most of the 3 days, because he walked in and he almost walked out again as soon as he joined and said, I don't think I can do this. I can't be in a group with people. I'm far too anxious. So we basically kind of like talked to him and reshuffled the plan a little bit so that he could have one-to-one sessions with one of the music leaders and he didn't stay for all of the days. He had shorter, he spent the morning, and then he usually left early after lunch and things. So and then by the end of the 3 days, he had written a rap that we put in, we integrated into one of the songs that the rest of the young people had put together. So I just wanted to read you the lyrics on the left there. You can see the lyric, you can't read them, so I thought I'd read them out to you because I just think they were like pretty awesome, really. So this young person came up with this. I'm sick of the judgments. Why does everybody hate in abundance? It's like I'm locked in a dungeon. I was taking small steps, now I'm lunging. I've been through enough, I want to heal. Sometimes I wish it was the pain I couldn't feel. Sometimes the people that I hang with aren't real. They try to take it from me, but I'm steel. Back in the place, my rhymes hit me like a smack in the face. Show me some grace, never last, I'm first in the race. You lost my trust, so I put my foot down on the clutch. What a rush, I feel good, it's time I push. And I just thought that was really like amazing for 3 days of somebody that's never done any music before. You know, never done any sort of structured music activity, and who was really struggling with confidence. And for him to, and he actually stood up there and performed. He couldn't look at anybody, and you can see he couldn't kind of present himself and perform as we would kind of expect. But that was, he'd never done anything like that before, and it was a pretty big step for him. So I'm going to stop waffling. And I'm going to hand over to Andy, who might be able to offer some perspective from a school about about the things, the practical side of running the musical nurture group.
Right, I'm on, I think. Is that all right? Everyone can hear me, hopefully. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, just to say, Rebecca asked me to just chip in at the end, as we are doing something similar in school right now. It's in its infancy, but just to say from the outset, I'm not preaching that we're a perfect school, this is a perfect setup, I'm doing it in the right way. It's just we are making it happen, probably making mistakes and things, but I'm willing to share how we're doing it, and you may take something from that. Pitch it to a school if you see how I'm doing it. One way I am lucky is our senior management are very supportive. This is actually a performance management target for me. It was their idea to use COVID funding, COVID recovery funding, that's what they're calling it, which I don't even think schools have got yet, but they're planning to spend it to use creative art. We've got a strong, but to come up with something created that I struggled in virtual school and maybe aren't coming in. So if I just share my screen a minute, we look like this. So I don't want screen recording. I want to share content. Share my. If I can't get it to work, don't worry. Hopefully, I should be able to. I'm not sure if it is. I can see my docs. If it doesn't come up, it doesn't matter. Can you see that document that's on my screen now? Does anyone want to unmute and let me know because my screen's gone off?
Yeah, yes, we can see it, Andy.
Yeah, good.
You can see that. Brilliant. Okay, it's nothing exciting. It's this is the Google document. This has been in the last sort of fortnight we've put this together. It is a live document. I've tried to avoid a GDPR breach, but it is quite likely that maybe a member of staff will come on and start writing on it. I can see in the red writing, my line manager's been on already and written something. But very similar to the practicalities slide through it. Sometimes a good way of doing it. I'll stop flicking the screen now. Who, you've got to obviously consider the staff. I've learned something. I think it's a good idea that maybe it isn't me. A teacher getting them back in school, it might be a good idea. The what is the purpose of it, which I've talked about there. But the students, I think with schools, the sooner you get to talking to pupil, attend all these different things, but soon becomes a bit more real. That's just the rooms of where you're going to put it and where it's going to happen. Another thing to think about. We were talking about student mentors. Sorry to go back to who, which is a bit of a nightmare at the minute with bubbles, but that's another possible idea. When it's going to happen. We're looking at social times, because a lot of these kids that we're going to aim it at find it difficult at social times, and it's often when they're getting bothered at lunchtime. And of course, I don't need to say why. We've been through that. In terms of the costs there, I mean, we're looking a bit broader in terms of like a digital media workstation that we're going to work on. See, I've just had an email about it. Thanks. We're looking at maybe like getting some drone photography things and maybe making promotional videos for things, obviously incorporating music and doing it that way. But I'm lucky that's in red is what my line manager is suggesting that they're going to give me as a budget, which I'm quite pleased with. But just another way of thinking about it, who, what, where, when, and why is a way to do it. Pupil premium is a possible fund that schools could tap into. Not to make generalizations, but there's a good chance that that child is pupil premium. Pupil premium nationally is on the rise because of redundancies and furlough and things like that. Our pupil premium is on the way up. We're a very inclusive school. It's an 11 to 18, about 1,500 on roll. We've got, I mean, when I'm teaching a class, to sum it up, I've got a student whose both parents are consultants sat next to a kid whose dad's just come out of prison for the 3rd time in the same class. So we're kind of warts and all school. We're certainly not perfect, but that's the stage we're at with this. It's early on. I'm quite happy to, it's performance management, so I'll have to monitor it, but I'm quite happy to keep Rebecca up to date with how it's going. Hopefully MUSINC might get involved. I'm going to go back to Zoom now. I'm not sure if I'm 100% allowed to send the document through for everyone to keep in their files or anything, because that is like a school document, but you can see where it's going, hopefully. And I'm happy to update at a future time to see how we're, because I've just seen £4,000 written on there that wasn't there before, so I can get the computer that I want and hopefully get this off the ground. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody wants to ask me anything about who I've had to talk to or any problems. If you think of anything, I'm happy that you can pass my email address out if you want to at the end. If you think of something afterwards, that's fine by me. But I think that's about it, really. That's okay. Rebecca, is that all right?